All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. I think we can get started. I can see a couple more people rolling in. Mindful listening is apparently a very popular topic, so I'm so happy to have you guys here today. Whether you are joining because you think you could improve your listening, or you're joining so you can tell your partner how they can improve their listening, whatever that looks like, I want to thank you for making the time. You have the next 30 minutes here for yourself. You've already done the hard part, which is just making it here. And if this is your first session, we've been doing these for a while. I want to say welcome. This is something that we kicked off as soon as everyone kind of started working from home, myself included. And so it has been such a joy to do these sessions. We do them every Wednesday, same place, same time. I did want to read a couple of the chats I've seen here. These are really sweet. They're very heartwarming. So the question was, what's your favorite sound? So people just sending in a number of people saying birds, so just outside, leaves, the wind, and the river. Um, Someone's taking their class in the backyard. Oh, my mom's taking her class from the backyard today. The sound of rain, thunderstorms. So a lot of very natural sounds in here, as well as the sound of someone saying their toddler laughing, my grandchildren, water in the sea. So thank you guys so much for hopping into the chat. Those are really, really sweet. And I think it's nice sometimes to uh, kind of just check in. What do we like to hear? What do we hear a lot of? Perhaps we thought of something we don't like to hear, but it is nice to reflect on some of those sounds that bring us either nostalgia or happiness, or cheer us up and make us a little more optimistic. So thank you guys. We do have the next 30 minutes here together. I wanted to try something a little bit new this week. So this is the class structure. If this is your first session, we do a little mini meditation in the beginning. I'll do a little presentation on the topic, and then we'll end with an extended meditation. I have a little homework assignment for you guys this week. So I want to make sure that I leave you a few minutes in the end to do it. I know it's hard if you're going into another meeting and you want to get back to it. So let's try leaving a little bit of time. I will speed up my presentation, and I hope you guys like that. I think the format will be a little more accessible for you guys. All right, so we're going to start with a mini meditation. If this is your first week, you'll notice this meditation is 30 minutes of silence, and that's it. So I won't be talking at all. I'm actually not guiding this meditation. Some of you might be wondering why this is not what you paid for, but this session was free, so we will connect on why this is so important. And interestingly, if you've never done any meditation before, this 3 minutes of silence, I'm just going to give you a warning, is going to feel long. And the reason is, when you're not necessarily in control or able to see the time, it can feel like you're in a little bit of a time warp. And also, if you're someone who feels like they can't meditate, or they've struggled with meditation in the past, it can feel like, you're not concentrating, your mind's wandering. But the purpose of this meditation, we're just going to take a look and kind of get a little perspective on what happens when our mind is wandering, some of that internal chatter that we have. So I will be doing it with you guys. You won't hear anything for 3 minutes, so it doesn't mean your audio is not working and I haven't left. But what I would encourage you for this is just finding a comfortable seat, making any adjustments so that you're not distracted by any pain or ache in the body, as well as just being kind to yourself as your mind wanders. The skill that we are working on is bringing it back. And so the recognition that your mind has wandered, bringing it back, that is something that we do over and over and over, and that's going to make this a lot easier. Even if you meditate all the time, this is still challenging. This is challenging for me, but it just gives us a little more perspective on what's going on in there. A lot of us might not even find 3 minutes of silence in the day normally. So let's see what's going on. I'm going to set the timer for you here, guys. We're starting with 3 minutes. I would encourage you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. It's just going to help you focus a little bit more. And we will meet back in 3 minutes. All right, so that was 3 minutes. Slowly just making your way back into the room, blinking your eyes open. I'm going to give you guys just a minute to kind of reflect on what that felt like. That was exactly 3 minutes. Did it feel longer? Did it feel shorter? Did you find today your mind was really wandering, or perhaps you felt pretty focused today? So just reflecting on that, everybody's experience of this is different, which is really interesting. Although we're doing exactly the same thing, you can have a different perspective or experience. You could have a different perspective tomorrow than you did today, or even later tonight. So this is the first time we've worked through a silent meditation together. It is something that I actually think has a lot of interconnectivity to it. So it's pretty cool. There's about 50 people in the room right now. We have about 300 people subscribed to these sessions. And so although you may not know anyone else in the session right now, there is a connection of something that you guys all just did together. And so I think that's really cool. It makes me really happy, obviously. And let's take a look at mindful listening. So this is by no means a new concept. I haven't made this up myself. This is something that actually in the academic world as well as the clinical world, we have a little bit of evidence around some of the issues with listening, whether that is in relationships, at work, even with just acquaintances, or the way that listening also impacts memory, which is really interesting as well. And so there are ways to systematically improve your listening. And so we're going to take a look at some ways to do that. Really simple. These aren't things that need to overhaul your life. These are things that you could put into practice later this evening, tomorrow, whatever that looks like. But I did want to just ask you guys, so this is a quick little quiz for you here. I'm going to throw up a poll. One of the most interesting I think, stats around this, and this has been replicated in a number of different studies, is following a 10-minute presentation. So they took, in this case, university students. So following a 10-minute lecture, then kind of without them knowing that they needed to actively listen, this was just kind of, the only instruction was to listen to this 10-minute lecture. 48 hours later, they tested their comprehension, their memory on what was said, what was the message of the entire lecture. And so this is only 10 minutes, so this should be pretty easy to remember, especially the concept. But about 48 hours later, you will see that there was a massive drop off. So just a little quiz for you guys. What do you think that looks like? You can think from your own perspective, 2 days from now, you know, what's your own comprehension like? What's your own memory like? I'll give you guys just 2 more seconds to vote. Perfect. So we kind of were split across the board here. No one thinks that it was 84%, which is accurate. And we've got a straight up tie between 17% and 25%. A couple people closer to that 42-65. So it is worth noting that, of course, within this sample set, there are variations. Some people remembered a lot, some people remembered nothing, but on average, the answer for this one is 25%. So if you can imagine all the stimulus you take in a day, 48 hours later, even if it was a concentrated lecture with a flowing kind of point and message, it can become really, really difficult for us to recall these things. It can become more difficult to recall things like stats or the actual numbers. I know for myself, I'm always repeating, I'm always like, oh, I heard this on a podcast and I just can't remember the number. And so mindful listening has very wide applications. And let's take a look at what it actually means to be mindful. So mindful listening looks like, there's not a straight up definition for this, but we can pretty much agree on what this looks like in a conversation with someone else. Perhaps it's a little different if you're watching a video or something like that, but in a conversation with someone else, it's providing that person your undivided attention, listening without interrupting, judging, or criticizing. That one is extra hard. Repeating what you have heard back after the person has finished what they're saying, paraphrasing, asking clarifying questions, and then if the situation requires a response, responding with empathy. Some of these may look easier to you than others, just depending on even the situation. If you're at home, if you're at work, different kind of levers here that impact our way that we communicate, we respond, and we remember. You can also imagine kind of the wide-reaching benefits of being able to listen a little more mindfully. So focus is a big one. A lot of us, especially now, I think we have with so much stuff virtually, it can be difficult to kind of just hone in and just focus on the task at hand. That's what we try to do here all the time. It's helpful, hopefully, when we do kind of that meditation in the beginning to arrive. You give yourself permission to focus on this class right now. You don't have to worry about anything else. Memory is a huge aspect of all of this. You can also imagine with memory, improving memory, whether that is just recent recall or remembering things that you read, months ago, that also really is connected to productivity. So the link between memory, focus, and productivity is actually pretty strong. You can also imagine what this looks like in relationships. So whether that's your partner, that's your mother-in-law, that's someone in your family, improving the way that you listen is actually one of the most respectful things that you can do. And I think to feel heard is just such a gift to people. In the workplace, this means coworkers, employees. This can help you also to improve your performance within a work setting. So the ability to, if you're going in back-to-back meetings, to take out the core message, to paraphrase, that's a really strong skill to have. Young children especially, we know children can tend to ramble, and so it's easy to kind of dismiss the conversation, but I have heard from a number of parents that their mindfulness practice has improved their communication with their children, as well as improved just the time they spend in the moment listening to their kids. And then finally, acquaintances. This is things like your bus driver, your barista, whoever that is, just learning small things about someone as you meet them. Often with acquaintances, even though we'll get a little bit of information about them, let's say they tell us their name, where they live, how old they are, how many kids they have, because it's an acquaintance, we're really quick to forget those details. And so the ability actually to retain this, which is heightened through mindful listening, is something that's really, really actually a communications and relationship skill. Empathy, you can imagine when you are really focused on someone, if you can think of a time when someone was telling you something really important or serious, your empathy ramps right up if you're able to listen to what they're saying before you hop in with your judgment or opinion, and just get an understanding of their perspective. And finally, likability. These all kind of add up to some characteristics that we know improve people's likability. So that is things like empathy, the ability to give someone advice, or to just show them that they're being heard. This is a major skill. Likability is a little less of a science. I think there is some research out there around what makes a person likable, but I think what we can see overall is you're able to improve a lot of these relationships through communication. That's going to kick your empathy up, and that also is related to likability. So that brings us to our closing meditation already. So we're going to do a mindful listening exercise for let's do about 8 minutes, something like that. So this actually is fully guided. You can listen to me the whole time. If your mind wanders, you will just do the practice that we did in the beginning. We're just going to bring it back. That internal chatter, that to-do list in your head, the part of you that starts to think about what you're going to do after this class. If you can just really focus on the moment, the present moment, and the sounds that you can hear, this is such a powerful tool. And so I'm thrilled to be able to lead you guys through this. Like I said, I want to give you a little time for the homework at the end. But yeah, let's get started. So just finding that comfortable seat. If you were with us, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, we did a meditation that's called 5 senses. So you're working through all your different senses. If you can just narrow this down to a few, it's going to help you to just focus on the sense that we're talking about. And in this case, it's listening. So it's kind of like if you are you're looking for a parking spot, you're going to park, and the radio's on, and for some reason, it's just easier if you turn down the radio for you to park. It's just a tool to close off some of that stimulus, focus on just a couple senses at a time. That's going to improve the quality and I think the enjoyability of this meditation. So if you are able to close your eyes today, or if that feels like a bit much, just keeping a soft gaze ahead of you, getting your feet on the floor if that's accessible for you. And let's get started. So I invite you to just quickly, as we start most meditations, just notice the connection between the soles of the feet and the floor. Usually we'd be wearing shoes, maybe you just have socks or bare feet. Noticing that connection and actually gently just pushing the floor away a little bit. This helps remind us how absolutely stable and supported we are right now. You may choose to rest your hands on your legs. If you're wondering if your palms should be up or down, whatever way they fell naturally is what's right for you today. There's no right or wrong way. And let's just take a couple elongated breaths here. So just 3 breaths, a little longer than your normal one. Nothing too crazy. And the first thing we're going to do is really to tap into that sensation of listening. Noticing any sounds you can hear from your own body. So just from you, even if you're sitting close to someone, just focusing on your body. That could be the sound of yourself breathing. You may be able to hear a little pitter patter of your heart. Noticing any natural noises you make just from making small adjustments within the body, moving around a little bit, finding that comfortable seat. See if you can close off everything else and just focus on those sounds. You may also notice the absence of sound. So you're listening as hard as you can and there's nothing. That's also just fine. We'll expand our awareness now to fill the room that you're in. I guess my mom's in her garden, so potentially the backyard that you're in. Just noticing we're pushing the awareness out further to take in some other noises. This could be something, I can hear my laptop humming away, air conditioner in the background. Some noises are a little more ambient. Could be your fridge even. Perhaps you already had some music on. So just noticing the noises that this room makes. We'll expand this now to include anyone who may be in the room with you. If you have some new tiny coworkers running around, someone else working from home, just noticing the noises. Perhaps someone's typing on a keyboard or just running around the house, just noticing those. And if you're in the room alone, again, just noticing the absence of those sounds. We'll take this one step further. So let's imagine now you are able to kind of kick down the door of whatever room you're in. Perhaps if you're able to crack open a window and just really concentrate on the sounds that are outside of this room. So this could be outside of this room, outside of your house, outside of your apartment. Really, really listening to see if there's anything you can hear. Wind, traffic, someone honking. I know in Toronto something is always on fire, so a fire truck. Or again, perhaps you have found yourself in a space where you can't really pick up a single sound outside. Just noticing that. Interestingly, whether you notice a sound or the absence of sound, we're still working the exact same muscle here. We're still training the brain the exact same way. And finally, let's expand this now to kind of reach as far as we can go. So you may not actually be able to literally hear these sounds right now, but just spreading your concentration, your awareness, thinking of some of the sounds that are common in your community, even your city. There's traffic, if there's kids running around, sounds of nature, like a lot of people were saying their favorite sounds. This one's taking a little bit of your visualization and imagination, but just sitting in that as if you were to hear kind of the hustle and bustle of your community. And with that, I think we can close this meditation. Just taking a couple closing breaths. Perhaps you notice something new this meditation that you haven't noticed before, just making a little mental note of that. And when it's comfortable for you, I invite you to blink your eyes back open and into the room. I know I say this every week, but this is one that you could definitely replicate very easily. This is also a really interesting one to do with someone else. So even if you're sitting in the exact same room, you may pick up on different sounds or sensations. It's a good one for kids as well. I always say I don't want to put myself out of a job, but this is one that you can really keep in your back pocket. If you have kids bouncing off the walls, this is actually a very calming meditation. It requires you to kind of stop making noise and to tune in. So it has a wide reaching application. The ability to identify the proximity of sounds is actually working out the brain as well. So we're always doing a little mental workout when we're meditating. And so that is a specific skill of this meditation. All right, so I've left you guys just a few minutes. This is your homework for the week. So there are actually, there's a million ways to try and improve your mindful listening. Some are more fun than others. I like this one. So your homework this week is to listen to a song and answer the following questions. So I've actually set it up that this meditation, once it closes, you're going to be redirected to a little sample song. I think it's perfect for this. It's upbeat, it's happy. You've probably heard it before. But interestingly, you can know a song really well. Maybe you've heard it a dozen times, 100 times, but you haven't really considered the lyrics or even just small nuances of it. So this is going to challenge us in that way. It's going to help improve our listening, improve our concentration. And so I will leave this up for you guys here for whatever, 5 minutes. And so you'll also have this as a resource as a video if you want to take a screenshot of these questions. But this is a really fun one to try out. If you don't like the song I pick, you can pick any other song. Just keep something that's a little simple and perhaps something that you don't necessarily feel like you know the message behind, which is a kind of cool part of this meditation. I did want to just quickly show you guys, next week we have Kristen Antons. She is going to be our special guest next week. She's a senior facilitator for us, and she does a lot of work with younger children. And so we've got some feedback that people have kids at home and just the ability to do something together, do an activity together. We want to provide that for the whole family. If you have no kids at all, there's still going to be value in this session. It's one of my favorite types of activities. So if you know someone, you know, they've got kids, perhaps this is something that a link that you can pass on to them. We want to always reach as many people as possible. So I would encourage you, if you feel like this has been helpful for you or this time up for yourself has been valuable, to just share that link. We're of course trying to make as many mindful home offices as possible. And that is all I've got for you guys this week. I'm going to give you your homework screen back in case you do have the time to do the session right now, work through a quick song, work through those questions. But I would really encourage you, if you can fit it in your day sometime today, just see what you've never noticed before. So thank you guys so much. Next week, meditation for the whole family. I will see you in the same place at the exact same time. Thank you again for the support, for coming out every week. It is just such a, I always look forward to it. So thank you guys.